In today's video, I'm going to talk about why we as women overthink everything. We over rehearse conversations in our heads. We second guess our choices. We hesitate before making decisions. We replay conversations in our heads. Why did I say that? What if I didn't say enough? We second guess our choices. Should I take the job? Should I speak up? Hi, if you're new here, I'm Ileana, your midlife wellness and mindset coach. Here we talk about wellness, mindset, and thriving in midlife and beyond. So let's dive in. What I have learned is that we hesitate before making decisions because deep down, we don't fully trust ourselves. Overthinking is a response to our self doubt. And because of it, we self sabotage with perfectionism and procrastination. We want certainty before we move. We want guarantees before we decide. But here's the truth, real growth begins when we take action, even when it's scary, even if we are doubting ourselves, because action builds trust, it builds clarity, and it builds confidence. Throughout the years, I have experienced overthinking in different areas of my life. After much reflection and personal growth, I have realized that this has been because of having doubt of failing, feeling afraid of being judged, and making the wrong move. Overthinking kept delaying my dreams because I thought I needed a perfect plan. And because of this, it took me longer than it should have to accomplish and go after some of my dreams. But everything has shifted when I have taken risks without knowing how it would turn out. I didn't feel ready, but I acted anyway. And that decision, just that one step towards a goal, helped me make the biggest changes in my life. And that has been personally, financially, and in my career. What all of that has taught me is that waiting for perfection only delays your progress. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about moving forward despite the doubts and the fears. So, overthinking is a symptom of self doubt. It is not a personality trait, it's a response to self doubt. We were raised to believe that we had to get it right, to be perfect, to please others. So now, as adults, we rehearse every conversation, every move, as if messing up makes us unworthy. Research shows that overthinking often stems from fear of failure and overgeneralization, believing that one mistake reflects our worth. A 2024 study in failure sensitivity and perfectionism and procrastination found that fear of failure correlates strongly with perfectionism and the tendency to procrastinate. Another study found that people with high perfectionistic concern over mistakes often replay mistakes over and over, thinking if I mess up, I'm a failure. This adds to the mental overload. However, the truth is, mistakes are lessons, not evidence that you're failing. Because in reality, if you've made many mistakes, that only means that you've taken action on a lot of things. Here's a tip that can help. Start becoming aware that when you are overthinking, isn't because you lack ability, but because you've internalized messages that equate mistakes with unworthiness. So when you catch your mind overthinking, pause and name that fear. I'm afraid they'll judge me. Then remind yourself and shift the script to mistakes are evidence that you're growing, not failing. Bottom line, fear of failure keeps us frozen. When we overthink, we're usually not afraid of the task itself. We're afraid of what it means if it doesn't work out. And that keeps you frozen. What if I try and it doesn't succeed? What if people judge me? What would they say? What if I fail? But here's the mindset shift. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of success. Every time you act, you either win or you learn. Experts define fear of failure not just as being afraid to fail, but fearing the consequences, the shame, rejection, embarrassment. Studies show that people high in fear of failure avoid tasks, even if they would benefit, because the emotional risk feels too high. Remember this, fear isn't just about losing, it's about what we believe losing says about us. And most of that meaning is made up. So let's start to see failure as feedback. You try, you learn, and you adjust. Keep in mind that perfectionism is self sabotage. Let's be real, perfectionism is just another form of procrastination. We think, when I'm ready, I'll start, but you're never going to be fully ready. Confidence doesn't show up first. Confidence is built after you take the steps. Psychologist tells us that perfectionism shows up in two ways. One way can motivate us to do our best, but the other quietly drains us. The healthy kind is about having high standards and feeling proud of your effort. But the harmful kind, the one many of us women fall into, is driven by constant self criticism, fear of mistakes, and the need to prove ourselves. That's the kind that leads to stress, anxiety, and overthinking. And it keeps us from truly enjoying where we are in life. The truth is, perfectionism isn't about wanting to do well, it's about needing everything to be perfect. And that pressure, my friend, keeps us stuck. You'll never fully ready because confidence doesn't come first. It's built through imperfect action. Every small, messy step forward teaches us something. Perfectionism might look polished, but underneath is just self sabotage in fancy clothes. The moment you stop chasing perfectionism and start showing up as you are, that's when real growth and freedom begins. You must remember this. Action is the antidote to overthinking. I still overthink sometimes. That has not gone away. The difference now is that I don't let it stop me. When my brain spins, I stop and I remind myself, just take one small step, not the whole mountain, just that next step. And with every action, even the tiniest one, the fear loses power. And the trick is to make fear our friend and bring it along with each step that we take. Experts talk about something called exposure to fear. When you take action, even while afraid, you begin to desensitize that fear. You teach your brain that you can survive the discomfort. And here's what it looks like in real life. I still overthink at times. We all do. But now I don't let it stop me. I just take one small step because every time I act, even in the smallest way, I take back my power. Every action, no matter how tiny, weakens fear's grip and strengthens trust in myself. Expert after expert have found that even the smallest action can interrupt those endless loops of overthinking. The moment we do something instead of just thinking about it, we shift from anticipation to rumination into experience. That simple shift lowers anxiety and brings us back into the present moment. Behavioral research also shows that taking consistent small steps builds self efficacy, the belief that you're capable of handling things. Each small win becomes proof that you can trust yourself again. Over time, those moments of courage quietly stack up and form a foundation of real confidence. I'll end with this thought. Listen to yourself, not the noise. One of the biggest reasons we overthink is because we're listening to everybody else's voices. Most of us were raised to listen to everyone else first: parents, partners, friends, social media, all those external voices that drown our own. But in truth, the answers aren't out there, they're in here in our heart. When you get quiet and listen to your heart, you already know what you want. You just have to trust yourself enough to move. Social psychologists highlight social comparison theory. When we look too much at others, especially on social media, we measure our worth by someone else's highlight reel. And that, my friend, increases self doubt. Mindfulness research shows that when we slow down and quiet the mind, through journaling, through meditation, or simple reflection, we begin to tune out all of the outside noise. These practices help release those internalized expectations from society, from family and culture, so that your own voice can finally rise to the surface. When you quiet the noise and create space to listen, you realize that you know more than you think. You've always known. You just needed to trust that inner wisdom again. So, if you're caught in the cycle of overthinking right now, I want you to hear this. You don't need all the answers to start. You don't need to feel fearless. You just need to take one step, and yes, while scared, and trust that you'll figure it out along the way. That's how confidence is built. Every time you act on what you believe, your brain learns, I can trust me. And that's how life shifts. So tell me in the comments, have you ever talked yourself out of something because of fear? This is a safe place, and you're not alone. Thank you for being here. If this speaks to you, hit like, subscribe, and stick around, because my intention with this channel is to build a community where we can all come together to support each other, to live boldly in our midlife and beyond, because your story isn't over. It's just getting started. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.